talked about Otha's past and his criminal history, but everyone says he's a great coach. Aside from all of that, he is a great coach, hands
Yes.
down. Tell me about Otha as a coach.
Otha as a coach. Well, Otha, he's one of those guys that all the kids really kind of they react to, and it's usually a good reaction. He's the kind of coach that he'll tell the kids exactly what they've done wrong, what they need to improve, and they do well with that. And there's something about Otha that just kids are drawn to him. As I think most people are, and that's the thing that makes him successful as a coach. It helps that he knows the sports that he coaches pretty well.
And tell me a little bit about his current role, or I guess before his arrest, but what his role was this season at Terrytown.
Well, this season we discussed it as a board. Every year we actually have to agree upon all the managers of the teams, and that was Otha's primary role. He was the manager of the team, so he had ultimate responsibility for everything about the team. And his job was to make sure that we had good assistant coaches and the kids are taken care of.
And was the board concerned because of his history, or did they say he's done his time, or what was?
Well, that was a big part of the discussion that we had. We obviously we have to make a decision about every manager, regardless of how long they've been up here at the ballpark. Whether it's been 1 year or 10 years, we still have to approve all of those managers. With Otha, we probably had a much longer conversation. Obviously, with the history, we wanted to make sure that we were doing the right thing for the kids. After we discussed it, we realized that he had done his time. And at the time we felt like he had paid for what he had done, and he's still good for the children. And there's a couple primary things that we look at when we approve our coaches, and we want to make sure that we don't have people out there who have committed crimes against children, violent crimes, that sort of thing. So and Otha, he met those standards, and and I believe everybody deserves a second chance.
And now, when you hired him this April, I guess, were the parents supportive? What was their reaction?
Well, naturally, we had some parents who had some concerns. Now, I don't think that we really had any concerns from the team that he was coaching, but some of the other teams, we had some of the parents who expressed some concern, and it really was just about having a conversation to say, these are the things that we look at. We did discuss it. We didn't just, throw Mr. Scott into the mix without any consideration for everything that's going on.
It's not like you were unaware or anything.
Right.
Okay. And if his detention hearing is today at 2, if he were to be released pending trial, or however the federal system moves forward, which is kind of a gray area, would he be allowed to come back to coach pending that jury trial or wherever the system?
Well, so we had a board meeting a couple of weeks ago, shortly after this everything transpired, and what the board decided, and it's per our rules and our Constitution. Otha has been he's been indefinitely suspended as the manager, and we've transferred all those responsibilities to the 3 assistant coaches that were under him, and he's been suspended pending either the outcome of this whole situation or the end of the season, because obviously once the season ends, we have to go through that whole approval process again for the next season.
Okay. And if I could back up a little bit, when you heard about these most recent charges, what was your reaction?
Well, you know, disappointment. You know, personally, I've known Otha for a number of years. Um, I know him, I know his family, we grew up in the same area. And, you know, basically, he's a really good guy, and he's really good for the children, and I like having him around the children. You know, I believe every child deserves to have a really good coach, and that's what Otha is. Unfortunately, he's made some mistakes. Now, I don't pretend to know all the details about this current situation, but I do believe that, you know, until he's proven guilty, you know, we have to consider him innocent. But with all that said, you know, we still have to look out for the children here at the ballpark.
Right. And in his role, would he ever have been alone with the children?
Well, depending upon how he runs his team, sure. There could be situations where he could have practice and he would be the only coach there and none of the parents were there. But typically with that age group, the parents are usually around for all games and practices.
Okay. And then kind of, have you, last question really, the parental reaction since these charges, what has that kind of been, or have you heard anything?
Well, I think we tried to sort of nip that in the bud. You know, as soon as this happened, I had the VP of that division pull all the coaches together and explain the situation for those who may not have, you know, heard what was going on the news, to talk about, you know, how we want to deal with this with the parents and with the children. Because our biggest concern was, you know, the children don't know much unless they hear it from the parents. Mm-hmm. So what we wanted to do was get the message out to the parents that, you know, let's sort of keep this, you know, in the ranks of the parents so that we don't get the children talking about it.
Any concern about danger to the kids, maybe not from him, but from other people who you wouldn't necessarily think about or see coming?
Sure. I mean, we considered that. You know, but again, not only do I know Otha personally, there's a lot of members of the board that knows Otha personally, as well as members of the ballpark. And I think, you know, there's been some time since the last conviction, and you know, I think we decided that we felt like there had been enough time passed. If there were going to be any sort of repercussions like that, I think we would have seen some signs of it, and that was part of the reason why we decided to approve him as a manager here at the ballpark.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think just in general, you know, there's been a lot of talk, you know, around town about, you know, Otha and the fact that he was given second chances by a lot of people. And, you know, I think for a long time he tried to honor those second chances. Again, I don't pretend to know the details about what's going on right now, but, you know, I can say there is some disappointment because, you know, it's a shame that somebody that's so good for the children in the community can get wrapped up into that sort of thing. And I guess that's my biggest disappointment.
Do you think if he were convicted, he would get a third chance?
Well, from a Tarrytown standpoint, I don't know that I can speak for future boards, but I can say that it would be something that would be considered. You know, you've got to look at, you know, what the offense was, how it affects children, and how it could potentially affect children in the future. Obviously, you know, here at the ballpark, we want to provide role models for the children. And, you know, at some point, you know, the children do look at coaches as role models, and at some point you have to think about how does that affect the children. You know, you don't really want children to say, I truly want to be like him in every aspect. But at the same time, you know, it's about what we can teach the children.